Welcome to the Armani Talks YouTube channel. I'm your host, Armani Talks. In this channel, I'm covering communication skills in order to help you improve your way with words. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about how to be more productive and how to quit procrastinating. By the way, if this is your first time on the channel, be sure to join me for future videos on public speaking, creative writing skills, social skills, and yeah, every now and then I drop a video on productivity. Hit that subscribe button, that bell notification right on below. Let's get started. Procrastination. I feel as though this topic has been hit from all potential angles within podcasts, books, blogs, YouTube videos. It's the same ideas which consistently keep sticking out. Either your goal is extremely blurry and you gotta make it more clear. Other times, you don't have the desire for the task, which is why this certain task just feels like busy work. And other times, you're just lazy. You're not a productive kind of person. These are just a few of the three key ideas that I just see tackled and articulated in different ways. But I don't want to make this episode like those other videos. I want to share a story where I don't give you a lesson at all. Instead, I tell you what I personally learned from it, and you just are going to be given the opportunity to identify either as myself or a roommate who I once considered lazy. And you'll be able to see procrastination from two different angles, from my lens, along with this other person. And from this perspective shifting dynamic, I believe we'll be able to tackle procrastination from a different angle, not the ones that are commonly out there already. So if you're ready and excited for today's story, go on and drop that like for me right on below. This was a couple of years ago when I was busier than I had ever been. I was working on my master's degree. I was working a 40-hour-a-week job. I was in a relationship. I was starting a business. My schedule was very, very packed. And my workstation was in the living room, where I didn't want to work in my actual room because, my bed was there. And every time my bed is there, I'm thinking about taking a quick little power nap, which turns into a very long nap. So I decided that I was going to work in the living room. Now, the problem with working in the living room was that I had this roommate at the time who, after work, he would get his Doritos, he would get his Twinkies, he would order some Domino's pizza, and he would plop his butt right on the couch, and he would keep on watching Sons of Anarchy or Breaking Bad. Just every weekday, he would do the same thing. And on the weekends, he had all these sports games lined up, and it felt as though that he watched a lot of TV and ate a whole bunch of snacks. I thought this was extremely peculiar because this guy, he was supposed to be starting a business. And I thought that there would be more productivity on his end. Why is this guy so nonchalant? Why is he chilling all the time? Why does he keep on procrastinating for? What made this roommate extremely funny was his dad was his business partner. So whenever his dad would call him and ask him for updates, he'd switch his tone out of the blue moon. He'd be like, "Dad, man, I'm so busy. I've been working on the business all day. I'm just finally taking some rest." I'm looking at this guy and I'm thinking, either he's a very good liar or he's straight up delusional. He's barely working on his business. He keeps on relaxing. Now, I was seeing this whole thing because, as I said, my workstation was in the living room. And as I would watch this guy just relaxing like that, something unusual happened. I was starting to get a little jealous. I was getting jealous because during that stage of my life, I wasn't necessarily feeling too much peace. I was just working and working and working while I saw this guy at peace. And I decided that I wanted some of that. So the next day, I closed my laptop and I decided that I'm going to join him on his little Twinkie Fest and Sons of Anarchy Fest. And that's exactly what I did. He was happy to have company. We chilled, we relaxed for some time. And 20 minutes in, I came to realize that I wasn't having fun at all. This was extremely uncomfortable for me, and I was just becoming extremely jittery. Where he was at peace, I was extremely out of whack. I couldn't quite articulate it at the time what was going on, but I came to realize that due to my extremely busy schedule, I too was procrastinating. Where my roommate was procrastinating work, I was procrastinating rest. And that's when this guy was starting to teach me a lot about myself that I personally didn't know. I came to realize that procrastinating on rest is also a thing. And this is something that people who are hard workers can have happen to them. So that was one of the first insights that I learned from this situation. And this is something that I don't see articulated too much in different videos. Because normally when we're thinking of procrastination, we're immediately, the perception part of the mind is thinking lazy person. But when we're thinking procrastination, we could also think an extremely hardworking person. So that duality definitely did exist. So on with the story. So as more time is going on by, I'm starting to think, man, what's the issue? Why is it that he's capable of relaxing, but I'm not capable of relaxing? And why is it that I'm capable of working and he's not capable of working? And that's when I started to have my stunning realization in regards to this whole procrastination issue. Productivity is a lot like this quarter, where there's two sides that exist. And when we forget that another side exists, we start to work with limited information. But when we understand that two sides do exist, that's when we start to operate with enhanced information. The problem with this roommate was that he only saw heads, and the problem with me was that I only saw tails. And when we identified with one side versus the other, we didn't respect the other side. Where for his lifestyle, he probably didn't understand what I was starting to do in my life, because he would always see me working and he'd be like, bro, man, ease up a little. Where I would always see him chilling and I'd be like, dude, quit easing up so much. But as more time started to go on by, I started to realize that just like I planned in work moments, I also needed to plan in rest moments. And for this friend of mine, as more time started to go on by, and his dad was starting to figure out, yo, man, I don't really think you're working. I feel like you're just chilling all the time. When his dad called him out like that, that's when he started to work harder. And where I was scheduling in rest time, he was now scheduling in work time. Simply by that little level of scheduling in, now both sides of the coin were embraced. So if you're one of those people, let's say you're more like me, where even nowadays, running this whole Armani Talks thing, since I'm in the beginning portions of my journey, it requires me to spin a lot more plates. I got to do a lot more in the beginning stages that someone who's a seasoned business person necessarily doesn't have to do all by himself. So in the beginning stages, for any startup for that matter, even Bill Gates was saying that he was working 18 hours a day for a certain period, no days off. Now, is this something that you want to be doing all the time? Probably not. But in this situation, how is it that someone is supposed to be scheduling in rest? How do you schedule in that rest? You just do it. Nowadays, what I do is the final hour of the day, I don't care what's going on, I rest. And I sort of just make that mental note that it's going to be planned in my day, just like my work period is. And even though it's just a small portion of the day, it could even just be for 15 minutes where I just chill, I'll watch a prank video, I'll watch a cooking video, stuff where I don't have to think too much. Simply by having that moment of planning in session, now both sides of the coin are accepted. So if you're someone who identifies more with my roommate, where you're having the opposite issue, where you're like, man, I really just can't work hard. I'm always just chilling. I too am always eating Twinkies. Then it's all about that small little scheduling of work. You could start off with 15 minutes, but 15 minutes is better than 0 minutes. And just by scheduling that intention of putting it down, maybe through writing or maybe through you speaking it out, that's when both sides of the coin are engaged. When both sides of the coin are engaged, that's when true productivity is being unlocked. That's personally what worked for me. Yeah, I mean, the whole traditional approaches of the goal not being targeted enough, there's not enough desire, there's laziness, all that stuff is true as well. But I came to realize that this little coin can teach more about productivity than a lot of self-help books out there, as long as you're looking at this coin correctly. Are you identifying as the heads? Are you identifying as the tails? Or are you identifying as that edge? Because from my experience, that edge is where procrastination starts to melt away and productivity starts to rise. Not the productivity where you're working nonstop, but that productivity where you have that flow state. There's that relaxed state. And in the end of the day, you too can watch a prank video or two. So yes, this episode didn't have a straight fix, but it wasn't meant to. It was meant to make you look within, spark insights of yourself, and see which side of the coin that you lie on. If you want more productivity tips like this, be sure to check out my free daily newsletter, which goes out every single day at 7 p.m. EST. I share lessons in a story format, and more specifically, short story format, something that is not too popular nowadays. So get on this list before it becomes mainstream. More people are like, oh, whoa, my day is so busy. I too need short stories to learn. Ready? Excited? Go on and hit that link in the description box or the pinned comment right on below. And thank you for joining the Armani Talks YouTube channel.